All right, I'm going to show you a picture real quick. All right, this is the truck I want. I love this truck. I want this truck so bad. Just before I come up to the dealership where it is, I start thinking about this truck. And then for a few minutes after I drive past it, I think about this truck. I love this truck. I want this truck so bad. What I don't want are the payments that go along with this truck. So I don't have this truck because I want it, and I want it real bad, but I don't want it enough to actually do anything about it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So there's these three men in Luke 9:57 through 62 who are called or who ask Jesus if they can follow him. And the first guy, he says, Jesus, I will follow you anywhere. I'm down for whatever. Let's go. I'm ready to do this. So Jesus says, sure, but I sleep on the ground. I have rocks for pillows. I don't have a place to live. And before Jesus could say anything else, this guy's like, I'm out. No, I'm good. This guy wanted to follow Jesus, apparently, but not bad enough to actually do what it took to follow him. He wanted the finer things. He wasn't a big fan of camping. So the second guy, Jesus actually tells him to follow me. And this guy says, sure, but let me go home and bury my father first. And this is a point of contention with some people. They don't understand Jesus' response here. He says, let the dead bury their dead. And what Jesus was saying was, I'm no fool. I know your dad doesn't need burying. Maybe his dad was sick, maybe he was at home or whatever, but this man's father did not need burying. He was not dead. How do we know that? Well, according to Jewish custom, this man would have been at home burying his father had he actually needed burying. So either this man's father wasn't dead, or this man was a bad son and he was trying to use his dead father as a cop-out. Either way, it's not Jesus being harsh. So then the third guy, Jesus says to Jesus, this guy steps up where the other two were going to fail, and he says, I'll follow you. But before Jesus could even respond to this man and say anything, he disqualifies himself and says, but first, I need to go home and say goodbye to my family. This guy didn't really want to follow Jesus. He wanted to be around Jesus in case things started going even better. I mean, Jesus was already a pretty big deal at this time. This guy didn't actually want to follow him. He just wanted to be around and, in case things got really good, he could be in on that. But he was really more concerned with what his family thought and what his family was doing than what Jesus was doing. So these three men said they wanted to follow Jesus, but not bad enough to actually do it. Kind of like me and my truck. If we want to know what it actually takes to follow Jesus and what it looks like to be a disciple, I think we need to look at Abraham, and then we need to look at the disciples. And we're going to do that real quick. So with Abraham, he left for a land he did not know, all because God said go. Now we can look back on that, and we've got the whole Bible, and we've got thousands of years and whatever to look at and see. Well, of course, Abraham should have listed God's great and God's powerful. But at that time, you have to understand, people served various gods. And these gods were regional. So this God who was speaking to Abraham should have been a regional God. That means he was powerful in this one spot, but he wasn't powerful somewhere else. So it was a big step of faith for Abraham to trust that this God who was telling him to go and leave everything could break boundaries like that. It was a big deal. That's a huge act of faith on Abraham's part. That's why he's called the father of the faith. Then we look at the disciples. Now the disciples are an interesting group, but what we have to remember is when Jesus called them, they were doing other things. Some of them left ministry, some of them left business ventures. It was a big deal. When Jesus said, follow me, they follow. So we have to ask ourselves, would we be willing to do the same thing? Now, it doesn't matter if you're questioning the faith, if you're new to the faith, if you've been a long-time Christian. If Jesus says, follow me, will you follow? If you're sitting in your cubicle at work and Jesus says, follow me, and you knew that meant to quit right now and go, would you go tell your boss, I got to go? Jesus said, quit. What if you're running a small business and you knew Jesus said, follow me? What he meant was leave everything and move off to the Appalachian Mountains and minister to people there. Move off to the Sudan and minister to people there. Whatever, I don't even know. Pick anything you want. Would you be willing to just hand the keys to somebody and be like, I'm out? What if you're in a ministry and you're in a fairly successful ministry and you feel God, Jesus leading you onto something else? Are you willing to walk away from that because God said go? It's not a question I can answer, it's a question you have to answer. We all have to answer that individually. If Jesus says, follow me, will you follow him? It's a big deal. It's a big question. Only you can answer it. Now don't get discouraged. If you've said no in the past, because we all have, that doesn't mean you're discounted. That doesn't mean Jesus is done with you. But it means when he asks again, he expects you to answer the right way. Hey, that's just a thought. Remember to like, comment, or subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.